So something that has stemmed from the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef is there is a big argument on who is the big three in hip hop music. Before this whole beef, the general consensus was J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and Drake, with like a few people ranking them differently. I mean, like I just seen like that the picture y'all see right now is from a page where they ranked like every single year how they like ranking them like one through three. Um, but because of this beef, there has been a plethora of different variations of people that are including like different. Honestly, in my opinion, I've seen some crazy big ones. I seen one that was like literally just that opium was the big three. I know that one was like more trolling, but some people were like actually supporting it and saying that that is the big three in music right now. So I'm going to try and keep mine objective and not really include my opinion much into it. And I kind of compiled a list of rappers that I think this includes Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar. I'll give all three of them cases. Um, this list is a basic consensus on who is successful enough, who has the numbers, who has the talent, and who like just who is like the iconic enough. Not really iconic enough, but who's it's basically the big three is kind of like a popularity contest, sort of. Who's the best but also being the most popular. You know what I mean? I do think I'm gonna go ahead and spoil y'all's. My version is actually different than the consensus. However, I have like not statistics because I don't have like any real numbers on here except a few. I have just like a few. I believe I've put up a pretty good argument for a lot of these guys, and if you told me your big three included anyone from this list, I would probably like, okay, I could see it, but it's not in my version. You know what I'm saying? And there's quite a lot of people that aren't on this list that you could probably somewhat make an argument for, but I don't think it's a good enough argument to even include them as an honorable mention. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm gonna try and make it completely as subjective as possible. First off, I feel like Drake is probably the easiest one to make the consensus that he is on it. Not because of the beef or anything like that, because I mean, obviously he lost. He lost pretty bad in a pretty embarrassing fashion because I seen he deleted all of his disses off of Instagram. So pretty embarrassing because I think that shows that even he knew he lost. But I'm not really talking about that. He's still the biggest artist in the world. Like he's still gonna sell probably about 200,000 on his next album, and because of this beef, even though he lost, he'll probably sell even more because a lot of people are gonna tune in just to see if he diss Kendrick again. And obviously, there's probably gonna be a number one hit song off of it. He'll collaborate with a big artist that was like gonna get it even more views and more streams. You know, it just he is easily he's gonna be the biggest artist in the world probably until he just outright stops, or even like he'll probably lose like the biggest artist in the world someday. But it's not gonna be for a while. Two, it's not like he's gonna go from biggest to like no one's really looking anymore. It's gonna go from biggest to not as big. You know, it's just I definitely think he should be on there. He probably has the best argument to be on there. I mean, it's really self-explanatory. There's not much I can say that hasn't been said before, and I think this is like probably the most obvious one. Like, oh yeah, Drake's gonna be on there, obviously. So if you pay attention to a lot of the comments that I make in this video, like in my other videos, if you really pay attention to it that much, I love Travis Scott, and this isn't really my bias talking though. I mean, obviously he was one of the first people I thought of because I enjoy him so much, but also for the reason that he has the numbers and he has become an icon. Like last year when Utopia dropped, if he would have shipped out all the vinyls on time, the album would have I don't remember if it would have outsold Taylor Swift, but that I'm like 90% sure that's what it was. He would have sold over 700,000 copies first week when he already did like 300,000. He would have sold over 700,000, and I'm pretty 99% sure he was gonna outsell Taylor Swift, which is insane. That is an insane to be able to do. And he was ruling the charts during that. He didn't get the number one hit because of it, like I'm pretty sure because of Taylor Swift, but Like 2 and 3, like Meltdown and Fiend. I'm pretty sure he had like another song that was in the top 10 too. Just he has the numbers and he has like in terms of album sales, and he has the hits to prove it. I mean, and he also has probably like the most consistent like discography out of all like a bunch of mainstream rappers. I can't think of one off the top of my head besides like Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole has a pretty consistent one. But he hasn't had an album that has been bad. Rodeo is like not inspirational, but like what's the word? Oh my god. Influential. There we go. So influential. It's one of the best trap albums of all time. Utopia, I've seen a lot of people make pretty good arguments that it's better, and it really depends on the day for me if like it's better or not. Astro World was a cultural phenomenon. Like Sicko Mode is one of the biggest songs of all time, or at least rap songs of all time. The moment it created, listening to it, and just like how big it was everywhere. Astro World was everywhere. I mean, and his like a lot of people consider his worst album, Birds on the Trap Scene McKnight, which I think is way overhated, to be honest. I do think it is probably his worst album, but like I love that album a lot, so that's not really saying much. Like I said, just he has the numbers. He's consistent. He has multiple like franchise highest in the room. My bad, my phone went off. He has the number one hits to prove that he could easily be a member of the big three. And also something else that kind of doesn't. I don't really know how to incorporate like artists other like career paths. Like obviously Travis Scott has a lot of fashion, like shoes, clothes. He has a lot of stuff like that. I don't really know how most people incorporate that into their like big three arguments. I think I've seen people who incorporate like Kanye into the big three, like the man created Yeezy. I'm trying to keep it strictly music. However, if let's say you want to include like just everything they do, not really fashion influence, but like shoes and stuff, he is a big fashion icon. You know, he's got other career paths too, and he has cactus, like what's it called, cacti, his alcohol. I haven't seen one of those in my local stores, but I also live in Newport, so like I don't know how good we're gonna get those. I don't even know how good that's doing, but I know it's sold out like very quickly, because I know people, like a lot of people were like, dang, 2 days in and it was gone. But like his shoes literally sell out in minutes. Not even minutes, they sell out in seconds. I'm trying to join raffles to get a hold of his shoes, and I don't get them. And I join like literally the second it turns like the time. But yeah, like I said, he's got everything to prove it, in my personal opinion. He's a part of my big three, I'm not going to lie. But mine's a little biased because I love his music. The next probably like pretty obvious one in most people's books is Kendrick Lamar. A lot of people kind of, I don't want to call it recency bias because I feel like he's always been a part of this big three for a while. But him winning this beef and in the fashion he did, the way he did, definitely 100% keeps him afloat from anybody that was ever trying to take him out of it. That includes me. Not that I was trying to take it out of it, but like when I was thinking of the three, I immediately was like, dang, he really like did this way. And what I mean by that is, okay, you might notice a weird cut that just happened. I said that P word that he calls Drake, and I don't think I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. But yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. He has a number one hit calling people that, and he has people dancing to that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a West Coast beat. It's easy to dance to. You know what I'm saying? He has people doing that. Meet the Grams was a huge moment, beat like that, because the way he dropped it, it completely ruined Drake's motive. Like what's it called? Like ruined Drake's hype because just completely overshadowed his diss. And I don't know if the daughter thing was a lie. I have a video coming out that will probably I give my opinion on that more and the whole beef itself and what I think is a lie and what's the truth. But I'm keeping it on this big three argument right now. He is definitely a part of it because he's got the numbers. I know Mr. Morale probably didn't sell as much as a lot of people probably predicted it to before they knew what the album was going to be like. But that you can contribute that to a whole lot of factors. None of those songs really, besides a few, in my opinion, had like mega hit potential. Like with his album Damn, he dropped Humble before it intentionally because it was a hit and it was a huge song. So that 100% helped the sales, And there was other songs that ended up being like kind of not the way I say it, like more formulaic, does not sound right at all. But You know what I mean? Like more easily for a lot of people to listen to it. Not every like Kendrick Lamar fan is going to listen to Mr. Morale all the time. There's a few that you can listen on there a few times, like N95 or the song with Summer Walker, or the song with Blast. There's just there's a few like cuts in there you could definitely take out, but he's got the numbers. He's got like the hugeness. Like if Kendrick Lamar drops the Heart Part 6 and then proceeds to drop another album now, it's gonna sell a lot of records. And that doesn't even, I'm talking about this, I haven't really mentioned like the talent much. Kendrick Lamar is a fantastic rapper, obviously. Like he's a probably the like honestly in my opinion, he's arguably more like obvious and more self-explanatory than Drake is. Especially after the beef. It's 100% he is the best rapper out right now, and I don't think you can make much of an argument for it being any other way. Okay, now this is someone that I've barely seen in other people's but this is someone that Drake has even mentioned before is his only real competition. I don't view it that way at all, really. It's not his only competition because obviously Kendrick is his best competition. But Bad Bunny has numbers, and he is a icon in Spain. And in his I think he's Spain, to be honest. My luck, I just got that wrong, and I'm gonna get heated on, or what's it called, trolled for it. Anyway, he has the numbers. He is a icon in his where he's from, and he's basically the Drake of Spain. Like his music sells a lot of records, a lot of I feel like it was noticeable enough for a while where Drake himself was even commenting on it, and I feel like that is enough to put him in the argument. However, I do think he doesn't have big enough of an audience in America, obviously, for most people to put him on there. But I definitely think he should be mentioned because I feel like if he was American, and he made American music, and his music was a lot more put into him, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say? I definitely think he would be put into it some way. That would be an argument. It would be a big 4, not a big 3. I'm gonna be honest with y'all though. I've never listened to a Bad Bunny song in my life. He's way too successful for me to not know a single thing he's saying. I feel like this is another one that's gonna be kind of a little bit controlled by recency bias. A lot of people are not happy with the fact that J. Cole isn't a part of the beef anymore, and he apologized the way he did. But he also did that before everyone knew what was coming and knew what was about to happen. In my little head, or actually my big head, I think that he got word and caught wind of what was going to happen, and he immediately knew he was not built for what was about to happen, and he apologized. I don't blame him one bit for doing it. That's not who J. Cole is. He's not someone to get involved with beef, especially the one like Drake and Kendrick's, because if J. Cole does get into any beef, it should be completely based off of just who's the better writer/rapper performer. That it doesn't get into anything personal. It's just light little jabs, and he'll probably try and be homies with him right after the beef happens. That is the kind of beef J. Cole would be about. But this one was not his environment at all, so it's completely understandable why he'd apologize. And why I don't really think that doesn't affect his big 3 status as much as I feel like other points that people have do. I've seen Sean C talk about it a lot, and I think he brought up a pretty good point, is that you kind of know what you're getting whenever you play a J. Cole song. At least I do, kind of. This is kind of an oxymoron, but he is in the best stage he's ever been in his career. I do think that. This is probably the best version of J. Cole we've ever seen. I think a lot of the music he's making now is better than a lot of the music off of 2014 Forest Hill Drive. Not all of it, obviously, because I don't think he's dropped a song better than No Role Models or Wet Dreams, Wet Dreams is more arguable. But anyway, I do think that he definitely still has a extremely strong case to be a part of it. But he is losing it. I do think that he is losing it because people are not going to pay as much attention to him now because of a lot of sting his bars are going to lose. He's talking about the best, and I don't really how he's the best. That's consistently what he talks about, but I don't really think that you can do that as much as you do that and then not expect for it to lose sting as much whenever you apologize for being in a beef. Because now whenever you say it, people are immediately going to be like, actually, you're mid compared to Kendrick and Drake, because at least Drake had balls to respond. Which honestly, I think is so stupid. I I know that's what's gonna happen, but it just sucks that it's gonna happen because I'm a big fan of J. Cole. I like J. Cole's music, especially now. I love his music, but every time I play it, I do kind of know what I'm gonna get, like the same kind of bars I'm gonna get. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mean that in the same way. I mean like Lil Baby, right? Lil Baby's a pretty good example. I almost put him on this list, but then I immediately was like, actually no. Whenever like you see a Lil Baby snippet, you kind of, before you even click on it, you know what it's gonna sound like. I'm not saying J. Cole is starting to get like that because that's a whole nother level. I'm starting to mean like content wise. I feel like you kind of know what you're getting. He isn't getting he's in the best stage of his career, but he's been at this point since like for a while. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he got to this best point of his career point and he's not getting any better. He's not making his peak any peakier, but he's not lowering it anymore, if that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense in my head, but I don't know if I'm like saying it the right way. But yeah, he's not in my big three, but I definitely can understand why people are putting him out of it. But I also, because I mean, it's not like his Might Delete Later mixtape thing, surprise drop, a lot of it, yeah, probably helped by 7 Minute Drill. But that still sold a lot of copies, and it was a surprise drop. So whenever he drops the Fall Off, I do expect it, especially if he does the rollout right, will probably be a humongous album. And a lot of people are probably going to put him back into the big three conversation. And if it's good enough, it probably might go back to them three being the consensus. Arguably still peaking is Future. I definitely think Future has the ability a lot of the time, and I think he's consistently doing it to keep peaking in his career, which is crazy seeing how long he's been making music, his age, how many people he's worked with and stuff like that. It's crazy to think about that he's still dropping consistently great music and albums, and he has 11 in a row #1 albums. I feel like that alone is good enough to keep him in I think that's good enough for him to be a big contender in the big three conversation, because 11 #1s in a row, 11 of them. I know him and Drake are the only two rappers to drop albums and have no, okay, how is it worded? How do I word this? To drop albums and a song from the album go #1 at the same time multiple times. You know what I'm saying? So I Never Like You and Wait For You was the #1 album, the #1 song, and then We Don't Trust You and I like that being another one. They're the only two rappers to do that. That alone should keep without him being talked about and without him being who he is, that alone should be his argument. Who else has that? That is crazy. That is a once-in-a-lifetime run. We will never see another run like this again, probably. There will be clones, but there will never be another Future. Which, yeah, honest to God, I think that alone should put him into the argument. I was going to put his running mate, Metro Boomin, on here as a contender for the big three, but then I was like, I kind of want to do a video on that, who's the big three of producers, because I almost put him on here, and then I immediately had that idea, because you can't really put a producer on the big three of rappers, you know what I'm saying? But that's another video for another day. Like I said, and Future's honestly the one that started this whole beef. Who do you think contacted Kendrick Lamar and was like, hey, I'm not liking Drake right now, I heard you don't like him either, come drop this verse. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. That's how that started, and that more people don't put him in the big three. I honestly think he's more deserving of it over J. Cole. Yo, before I talk about Nicki Minaj's argument, because I've seen a few people include her in the big three because of her impact on female rap music, which I'm gonna talk about that because that can't be ignored, and that's obvious, and her success is obvious, no duh. But y'all should watch the Patrick CC video about her and her husband, and it's crazy. It's insane. Anyway, most females, in hip-hop, have Nicki Minaj to thank for their careers. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily every single one of them are completely just because of Nicki Minaj, and I'm not saying that they wouldn't have happened without her, but would they be looked at and as successful as they are? Not necessarily. You know what I'm saying? I do think her recent activities are definitely a reason that she shouldn't be considered for it, at least as of right now. Maybe used to, yes. Back in 2010s, probably. She was probably a consensus. But like beefing with Megan Thee Stallion the way that she is, dropping in my opinion, not a good diss song. I don't think her recent albums have been as good as her older ones. I just, besides features, oh my god, she featured in something recently that I remember liking. But like her newest album, I didn't really like it that much. The album before that, Queen, was good, but I didn't really like it that much. It had good songs, but that's about it. I think that was the album before this one. I'm pretty sure it was. Anyway, that mixtape that she dropped on Spotify, I know that's an older mixtape, but I didn't like it. So I'm just throwing it in there because I just like hating on stuff. But yeah, I definitely think her recent activity and her recent output is a pretty good reason for her not to be included above other people because of their resumes. And I feel like you can argue a lot of people have better resumes than Nicki Minaj. I mean, that's just a hot take, but that's another video for another day. Okay, this one's like a last little minute one that I'm putting on here. I feel like Young Thug has the potential to become a big three contender whenever he gets out of his case that he's dealing with, because I know like before he got locked up, Punk didn't really sell that many records, so a lot of people would probably try and use that as an argument on why he can't be considered a part of it, because, oh, if you gotta sell records to be a part of the big three. But I feel like if you look at Young Thug's like cultural impact, you know, he's got so many sons, you know what I'm saying? Like so many rappers are like just biting at Young Thug style, you know what I'm saying? You could put his like inspiration, not his inspiration, but like you can put his like influence in a whole lot of rappers. So especially like big mainstream ones, like Yeet is one of them. A lot of people might not like to hear that, but Yeet is definitely one of them. At least I hear that more than I hear other ones. But whenever he gets out, obviously he has to get out, because you know, some people, I know a lot of people didn't really like Business is Business. I thought it was kind of cool. It definitely wasn't great. I wasn't like leaving that album calling it great. I called it good. I do feel like a lot of people will go back to it and think it was a lot better than what they said it was. I'm hoping I do that too, because I didn't want it to be bad. I actually had high hopes for it. I wanted it to be really good. Oh, You Went is a really good song, by the way. But yeah, this one is more of a, like, I'm putting on here because it has potential to get big, but it's potential. That's why I'm talking about it, and I'm not really trying to throw them in there now, currently. Okay, now, some people might be a little surprised about a few that I didn't really hit on. Specifically, Kanye West. I didn't include Kanye because of his recent remarks and his constant downgrade that is happening in his music right now. He should not be part of the big three. I don't really care for anyone that says he should be. Playboi Carti, obviously his influence in opium right now is huge. However, I feel like if he didn't like fail at almost every single rollout that he's tried, if he actually was, this is for Kanye too, honest about your release dates, you know, all that kind of stuff, and wasn't so hard on about the freaking, like, I know he had a #1 song recently with Carnival, but like if he wasn't so up for this mysterious thing he's doing, and he wasn't like going off the Aiden Ross stream, he kind of just seemed like, I don't know, crappy guy. But anyway, so that's kind of a few that I thought. Lil Uzi, I thought about throwing on here, which I feel like he has a pretty decent argument for. I feel like if he actually dropped more music and like was just more about music, because Pink Tape sold a whole lot of records, but I didn't really. I feel like a lot of people's like general consensus is that it was like a build your own album and not really one like great listening experience. But it literally like glitched out Spotify, like so many people were going to stream it on its first day. That's pretty good. That's a good consensus. I probably should have talked about him a little more than I did, but I'm kind of running out of time because this is a long video. This is one of the longest ones I've made in a while. But yeah, I'm going to start this off with saying I think the current big three that people have the consensus on is fine. It's okay. Could it be changed? Do I think like I think the most easily replaceable one is J. Cole. Easily replaceable, because I feel like Drake and Kendrick Lamar are pretty obvious. You can definitely make the argument though that Drake shouldn't be on there. I feel like an argument can be made, especially if he drops another couple albums that are stinkers. He can definitely, especially, yeah, like I said, soon the argument can get even stronger. But J. Cole, as of right now, is the most easy, like the weakest link out of the three currently. So if any of them, he should get replaced. Now, I've been struggling to pick between Travis or Future. The reason I'm struggling between that, like of who could replace him, because both of them have amazing arguments. But I think Future has the biggest sample size and his recent success. Whenever Travis drops another album and it's as good and as successful as his other four have been, yeah, throw him on there. He could definitely put it. But God, what can you say to 11 number one albums in a row? You can't say much to that. Like, what are you going to say? You can't. You can't really argue with that. That is a very hard argument to beat. If Travis is able to drop another one, a fifth album, he'll probably have one of the greatest 5 album runs of all time, especially if it's even like if it's not as good as Utopia, but still pretty freaking good, then yeah, it's gonna and sell as much as it did. Hopefully he can get all them vinyls out in time. That way he'll sell like a freaking kajungle amount of records. Anyway, right now it's fine, but I definitely think J. Cole's the easiest weakest link. I think people like the consensus for a lot of 99% of the population should be Drake, Kendrick, and Future, especially now after this beef has went away. My personal version, I'm putting Kendrick, Travis, and Future because that's just who, out of all the 3 that I listed off, that's the 3 I enjoy the most. But anyway, go listen to my music. I hope y'all tell me y'all's big 3. I want to know other people's big 3 because I wonder if there's a big one that I just forgot about or that I just didn't notice a lot of people were including. There probably is somewhere.